Hey everybody, it's Christina. Welcome to the final day of the Summer of Magic live video telesummit. If you are joining us live here now, I can actually see comments now. There's a little bit of it's really interesting. Facebook has redone their live broadcaster side of it, like what we see. And it's pretty cool, actually. I've been really enjoying getting to know it. So, how have you guys been doing this week? Mercury just went retrograde. So that always brings a lot of fun and interesting things. I tell you, I've had a very, very interesting day so far. uh, I have managed to do a lot of things this morning already, and I was like, how did this even happen? Hey, Brittany, good to see you. Okay, it looks like I am in the right place. I can see comments. Good, good, good. Okay, sound and videos. Okay, everybody. So it's already one day. We're one day into Mercury retrograde, and I made a post on my personal timeline this morning. I've already managed to basically, I dropped my phone into the bathwater, shorted out the speaker, so that's being replaced right now or fixed. Um, I have like a skincare fridge that decided to die. All my skincare leaked out, like all my acids and stuff just totally ruined all my other stuff. My lawnmower wouldn't start this morning. So if you don't know, Mercury in retrograde, it's like it's like the time where everything just breaks, right? And it's usually stuff that like you want to replace anyways, or stuff that's like old or. And it was really funny because I was just talking to my husband like this last week about how I wanted to buy a new lawnmower. I wanted to buy a new phone because I don't like my phone. I just bought a new phone like a year ago and I don't like it. So I was like, I want to buy one of the new iPhones. I got like an iPhone 6S because I was just like, because I broke my phone previously to that. So I like bought this because I was like, okay, that's what they had. So I was like, okay, it's been a year. I want to buy a brand new phone. I want an iPhone like what, 10 or 11 or whatever, right? And then dropped my phone into the bathwater and shorted it out. So I'm gonna get the speaker fixed. But then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna go ahead because the guy was like, it's probably not gonna work right. I'm just gonna tell you right now that it's probably I can fix this speaker. I'll get you started for $50. I'll get it functional, but you're probably gonna want to buy a new phone. I'm like, okay. So I did that. And so, yeah, and then my husband got sick. I don't know what's wrong with him. Like, he called me, he's on his way home. So it's just like been one of those mornings where you feel like you've lived a whole day by 9 a.m. Does anybody understand that? Not so good how Mercury retrograde ate your phone. I know, right? But the good news is that I'm getting a new phone. So, you kind of have to look at it sort of like that. So has everybody pretty much caught up on all of the workshops? I started half of Christie's or Luna's this morning, and then all this crap happened, so I have to go back and finish watching that. But I think I'm caught up on everybody's workshop so far. Have you guys been really enjoying this? Have you guys learned a lot of things? If this is your first summer of magic, how have you guys been liking this? Is this something that you're interested in doing again with us next year? Have you guys been liking it? Hi, Devine. Hi, Rhoda, excuse me. Good to see you guys. Elizabeth, good to see you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Okay, so today's probably going to be a little bit of a longer training. Like, I literally have been trying to condense this training down and down and down all week. I've been struggling to get it at the 1 hour mark because there's actually a lot more than I thought when it comes to Saint Germain and working with the Violet Flame specifically and psychic protection. And I'm like, this could actually be like a 3 or 4 hour workshop. And so I was like, okay, let's just figure out what is the most important. Like, what do I really want to teach you guys? Because I only have like an hour, maybe an hour and a half tops, right? And I'm the last presenter, so we can go a little bit longer. But I know you guys have things to do. It's Friday, so you guys have really important things to do, and I don't want to keep you here for too long. So it's like, okay, let's condense it down, right? It's very, very, very controversial, this topic, okay? And I didn't realize how controversial it was until I really started getting into it. Brittany says, I really liked it. I would do it again. Great. Awesome. Hi, Jocelyn. Good to see you. Elizabeth says, it's been amazing this year. I have to go back and catch up with yesterday's presentations, but lots of wonderful stuff. Yeah, and everybody has been doing such a great job this year. Like, I mean, for being in Mercury retrograde shadow, there's been like no problems. Like, I think one person was having like an issue that I had to go back and fix like her delivery system for her free gift, but that was like a, 15-minute quick fix. It's been it's been seamless so far. So hopefully we won't have any problems with my live stream today. Hey Amanda, good to see you. Devine says, I'm loving it. I'm interested in doing this next year. I'm learning so much. Cool. Yeah. So, yeah, join us again. And we also do, by the way, we also do the 12 days of Christmas. So, we will be doing this again in December. And I will put up a notification, and I'm getting ready to get the group ready and things like that. So, we will be doing this again for 12 days of Christmas. And we do this twice per year. We've been doing this for almost 5 years now. And what this is it's a graduation ceremony for the people in my marketing course that learn how to become a spiritual life coach or learn how to become a spiritual teacher. And so we kind of get together, and the alum, from the people that have graduated in the past, they can come back and do it. And then we have some new presenters this year. So you kind of get a mix, you get the people that are just really starting to get into spiritual teachings and showing up online. And then you have people that have been doing it for years, like I have. And so we do this twice a year. So I will let everybody know when we have the 12 days of Christmas coming around. We try to do like really positive stuff around that time, managing emotions and like, how to get through the chaos of the holiday season. Also bringing back our old, like, we talk about like a couple years past, like we've talked about like, the pagan origins of Christmas. We've talked about different like spiritualities and religions around the world and how they celebrate the winter solstice and things like that. So it's a really, really fun time. So I invite you guys to come back, and I will let you guys know when we start that up. Good to see you guys. Knock on wood, right? I don't have any wood around me right now, so I can't knock on it. So how many of you have worked with Saint Germain before? How many of you have heard of Saint Germain before? Or how many of you have heard of or worked with the violet flame? If you are into Reiki, if you've been attuned to Reiki, or you've taken courses on Reiki, chances are you're going to be somewhat familiar with the violet flame, or you're going to be somewhat familiar with Saint Germain. They kind of came up around the same time. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Saint Germain and the controversy that is who that person actually is, because we don't actually know who Saint Germain is. He's been purported to be many, many, many different people, and actually there's a lot of scandal involved. And I'm not going to have enough time to talk about all of those things today, like all of the scandal today. But yeah, I didn't realize what a controversial topic this was. I didn't realize how deep the rabbit hole goes with Saint Germain. Honestly, I really didn't know very much about him. I was introduced to the violet flame in Reiki and energy healing before I even knew what Reiki was, really. I knew the violet flame. And the reason I knew about it is because about 10 years ago, I went through a really, really dark night of the soul. Actually, my whole story is on my YouTube channel. I did an interview. Marla Martinson, she's one of our presenters. She presented this year, and she actually interviewed me on her channel. So it's actually on her channel, but I have the playlist on my channel. It's on Tarot Biz Mentor. And I talk a little bit about how I got intertwined with these people and how I found this motley crew of people. But anyways, it was probably about 8 or 10 years ago now, somewhere around that. And I basically lost everything. I lost my job. I lost my apartment. It was just a really, really bad time. And so I ended up getting involved with these people who I would consider to be like freaks, back then, like really weird hippy dippy people, like people on the fringe, right? And I started hanging out with these people because there was this place. If you are from Kansas City, or if you live in Lee Summit or around this area and you're watching this right now and you're one of my friends from those places, hi, you probably remember this. So there was a place called the Council of Light Center. And the Council of Light Center was, among many other things, It was like a co-op. There was gardening co-ops. There was like people on the verge of like living on right before the tiny house movement really kicked off. Those kind of people, sustainability people. They also did yoga classes. Um, we did like weekly Friday night parties where we would do. I think they were called kirtans. I think that's what they were called, where people would just like basically bring an instrument or bring tarot cards or just just come and hang out. And it was like, there was no alcohol involved or drugs involved or anything like that. It was just come hang out, come have a good time. There would be people bringing like instruments and drums and stuff. And I go around giving tarot cards. But what I really got involved with them, why I really started was they taught yoga classes. And the lady that owned it, or she owned it, or she was like a partner in it, but she had the majority holding of it. She was she had trained in like India and all these other fancy places and exotic places doing yoga. And so I started doing yoga. I would come to yoga every single day. This turned into doing yoga like between 1 and 3 hours every single day. And I basically joined what we would consider it to be like an ashram, right? Lisa says, I have worked with him. I'm a Reiki master. Okay, great. Yeah. Elizabeth says, my first experience with him was in a dream when he handed me the violet flame and told me I was now able to use it or wield it. Cool. Hi, Wendy. Brittany says, I'm green about Saint Germain and Violet Flame. I've read a couple energy healing books, but I really feel the authors are trying to avoid getting into controversy. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. For sure. For sure. There's definitely a group of people that I think are definitely full of crap when it comes to Saint Germain and the Violet Flame. And I think it's really funny. I think it's important you know where your healing tools come from. And I think it's important you know the history of your healing tools so you can make an educated, decision about whether you choose to work with them or not. So I was getting really involved with this woman. And if you hear my dog barking, sorry, it's my husband. He just got home. And she was an energy master. She was really, really cool. She could like manipulate energy and it was really neat. And she would touch you and you could actually feel the vibration from her. And she practiced this thing called a Deeksha Blessing. I'm not sure if anybody has ever heard of that. It's called the Oneness Blessing. And when I get off of here, I'll put like a link in the comments where you guys can like check out what that is. But it's basically a blessing that's transferred. It's kind of like a Reiki attunement, but it's a blessing that's transferred by touching someone on their head or touching someone on their forehead. And what it is it's supposed to, in layman's terms, in the simplest way I can put it, it's supposed to help awaken you up. It's supposed to help you become more aware of energy, become more aware of low vibe versus high vibe, those types of things. So I really started getting involved with her and she really started teaching us about energy. And she would host these classes where we would all come in. We would just pack this tiny little room, right? Just probably 100 people, just pack this tiny little room. And she would do these classes where she would sit in the middle of the room and she called herself a shaman. And she would basically take us through hypnosis, through like this journey, I suppose, to go to this place called the Council of Light, which was what the place was named. And so we would go there, and there she described it to us as being like the place where gods and goddesses live, the place where ascended masters live. And in particular, she mentioned many, many, many different deities and many different ascended masters. It was kind of like a collective that would come through, and she would channel messages from those higher vibrational beings. And if you were lucky, you got picked to have a personal message, right? That's kind of how it worked. And so I remember being introduced to Saint Germain and not really clicking with it in the beginning, but she really, she helped us she brought in what was called the Violet Flame. And it was one class that I attended. She basically attuned us all to the Violet Flame, and she did that in combination with the Deeksha Blessing, which was like pressing on our foreheads and some kind of transference of energy. All I can say now is it's 10 years later and this is where I am and this is what I do full time. And so now I'm really deep into the woo. I'm really, really deep into it now. So maybe it worked, maybe it does work. So that's kind of where I heard about it. And I worked with the Violet Flame in the way that she taught me, which is the way that I'm going to teach you guys today. Teach you the exact same thing that she taught me and how she taught us and how to utilize it. And it works. And it's one of those things I still work with all the time. Many of you probably know me from Psychic Hotline School. Many of you probably also know me from the Profitable Psychic. Those are the two main places I hang out. Back previously, if you're here back from a couple years ago, you might remember me from Make Tour Your Business. That was a program that I ran, right? So you probably know a little bit about me. If you don't know that much about me, just know that I'm a professional psychic. I've been doing this for almost a decade now. Now I actually help people build up psychic businesses and teach and train them how to become professional psychics. I focus more on the marketing side, like focusing more on the branding and that kind of stuff now. But in the past, I have taught psychic development courses. I've taught so many different things in so many different ways. Almost 10 years of classes and different ways of teaching. And so one of the questions that I get a lot, especially on my YouTube channel, is, Christina, how do you deal with basically dealing with low vibrational people all day? Because you have to understand why people come to us. People don't come to us because they're having the best time of their lives. Usually people come to psychics or get psychic readings or want psychic coaching in most cases because they're really struggling in their life, right? So it means that where you're intercepting people as a light worker is usually you're intercepting people who are in a low vibrational, could be anything. It could be something external happening to them. They have experienced a death in the family, or they're going through a bad breakup that's really taking a toll on them. It could be anything that we would consider trauma based, or something that, going through their own dark night of the soul type of situation, like we have done and light workers have done before. I've gone through that many times. So when you're dealing with and working with people in a professional capacity to raise their vibration, like that's the actual service and that you actually provide them, is to help raise their vibration. It can be really, really exhausting to deal with low vibrational people all the time. And it's not like it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's not coming from a place of avoidance or anything like that. It's just what it is, right? That's what it is. People are coming to us in these lower vibrational times because they need some type of energy transmutation, right? They need some type of energy shift. They need a tarot reading, or, they need Reiki healing or something like that, right? So there's all these reasons why people come. But it can be exhausting to deal with that day in and day out, and dealing with it, especially if you have a full appointment book of clientele, right? So it can take its toll. And that's just kind of how it is. And light workers being in that energy all the time and having to kind of fight those evil forces, or having to fight those lower vibrations and bring people up, it can be very, very tiring. So one of the questions I get all the time is, Christina, how do you maintain your own vibration? Because I'm an empath, most of us are empaths here, right? So we are the type of people, empaths are the type of people that are very, very sensitive to energy, very sensitive to everything, but very sensitive in particular to negative energies or to lower vibrations, right? Things specifically that we have actually worked through for our own selves, and now we're helping to help others heal and work through as well. So, how do you deal with that? I mean, it does take a toll, doesn't it? It is difficult. It is difficult to deal with that day in and day out. Some days you just can't deal with it, right? And so that's where boundaries come into play, and making sure that you're not overworking yourself, making sure that you're charging enough for that. Definitely raising your prices so that you're seeing less people and you're able to manage your energy a lot better. That's one of the key things. But the other side of that is your own energy maintenance and making sure that you're managing your own energy in your own life. Because as empaths, we're kind of like magnets, right? Whether we intend to be or not, we're sort of like magnets. We walk around, and I don't know if you've ever had this experience where, let's say you're in the grocery store, you're in line to check out in the grocery store, and this lady in front of you is just like, you can tell she's having a hard day, you can tell she's having a hard time, and you're just kind of sitting there staring at her, like trying to like not get involved, but like also be really patient and compassionate with them and let them, handle it. And then they look over at you, and for some reason, they just drop their guard and they just begin telling you all about their day. They begin telling you about all the things they're struggling with. It's because as empaths, we are kind of like a safe place for that unloading process. And it can be very, very difficult to navigate that, especially if you're untrained, or you don't have a lot of good boundaries in place, or you don't have a good method of energetic clearing, which is what I'm going to show you guys today. And so being an empath, we're kind of like magnets to people that have negative attachments or even parasitic energy, psychic vampirism going on in their own life. And if we aren't careful, we can take on that unintentionally. It's kind of like walking through the swamp. Unintentionally, you're going to have leeches attached to you. It's not because the leeches want to do anything harmful to you. Leeches got to eat too, right? So it's like they see you, you're there, you look delicious, so they're going to attach to you. And so part of that process of being in that swamp every day, or being in that low vibrational energy every day, and pulling people out of it, is that unfortunately a negative side effect of that is that we can pick up energetic attachments from other people. And this can come through as like, it could be limiting beliefs that people have that make us question our own beliefs. It could be trauma that they've experienced in the that they've recently experienced, or trauma that's brought up that they've experienced in the far past that is activating some type of unhealed trauma in ourselves. Then we can go into the whole mess of our unhealed trauma and how we project that onto other people, and judgments and things like that. So, if you find yourself, you wake up one day and you're like, I don't feel good. I know everything in my life is pretty okay. Like, I have a good handle on things. Chances are you have something else kind of attached to you, right? It's usually something that could come in and you don't even realize that it's there, or it's something that you do realize it's there and you need to get it gone. You need to get it away. And so energy maintenance and doing psychic protection work, and being a professional psychic in whatever capacity, whether you are a psychic reader or whether you work in social work, but you use your empathic abilities to help your clients. So whether you work in the metaphysical world or you work in the muggle world, as we call it, if you are an empath, or you are sensitive to energy, you're going to use that and utilize that in some way, and you're going to pick up things along the way, right? Does that make sense? Marissa says, I've worked with the violet flame associated with Saint Germain. I like how you worded that. Elizabeth says, every day as a teacher, Reiki for the win in the classroom. Yeah, so it becomes a matter of, we really have to establish these regular routines. Some people really love to work it into their self-care. Jocelyn was talking about self-care earlier this week, and I think a lot of people have kind of skirted around the idea of self-care. It's very, very important, and part of that is your professional energetic maintenance as well. Some people utilize, like, say, cleansing spells. Some people take spiritual baths. Some people do soul retrieval. Some people do Reiki. Some people do chakra meditations. Some people, you are probably very familiar with this, with the idea of white light, right? White cleansing light, like imagining yourself being absorbed in that white light and cleansing things away, or holding on to something and infusing it with white cleansing protective light, okay? So most people are going to be introduced to this whole idea of working with colors, even though most people are usually just going to be mostly familiar with the whole white light part of it. But when you think about working with white light, and you think about the color white, what is the color white? It's all of the colors, right? It's all of the colors in one. And so when you take white light, for example, and you hold it up to a prism and it refracts that light and it bends that light at different angles, what happens? We get the rainbow, right? So working with the violet flame is sort of a way of picking out one specific aspect of that white light and going a little bit deeper with it. Because especially if you work with Reiki or you work with chakras, you know each of the chakras are associated with a specific color, right? And so color itself and working with individual colors is a really great way to kind of get into energy healing, because it's so easy and it's so natural, right? Most of us work with colors in some way, shape, or form, even if we're not really aware of why we're working with colors or how we're actually doing it. So think back to a day maybe when you were getting ready for a date with someone, your significant other or some person you're just dating or your husband or your wife or whomever, right? You're getting ready for the date. Now, when we're getting ready for the date, we're trying to call in specific energies, right? We're trying to activate that root and sacral chakra. So, what are some of the colors that we might wear? Like yesterday, Leonie mentioned that she wore red that day because red is associated with working with ancestors. We're associated with the root chakra, clearing out those lower chakras. So when we're getting ready for a romantic date, we might put on some orange or some red lipstick, or, we think about things that are very sensual, colors that are very sensual. Think about it a time when you weren't feeling very good. Maybe you were kind of having a down day. Maybe it went in two different directions. Maybe you wore something really drab that day. Maybe you just wore black that day because you weren't feeling very well. Or maybe you tried to utilize color to help lift up your vibration. Maybe you put on a bright hot pink shirt, or a bright green shirt or something like that, just to kind of help boost your energy. So there's many different ways that we utilize color healing in really subliminal ways. If you think about it in marketing, color is huge in marketing, isn't it? We think about going to spas. Well, you go to a spa for what reason? You go to relax, right? So when you think about spas, what are the colors that kind of come to mind? Blues, greens, right? These more relaxing, these more healing colors. So color has a lot to do with healing, but it also has a lot to do. There's loads and loads of research out there now about color, utilizing color. Color is going to stimulate us in some way. It's going to stimulate us physiologically. It's going to, like, if you ever hear the phrase seeing red when you're mad, right? Or you are surrounded by a bunch of red and orange and you can't figure out why you're, hyped up, and you can't figure out why you can't relax. So we're stimulated physiologically by color, but we're also stimulated mentally, emotionally, spiritually by color as well. And so we can utilize certain colors to achieve certain effects. Now, let's just go through this really quickly because I'm sure a lot of you understand what I'm trying to say here. And I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of collective knowledge within you about color healing, even if you've never thought about color healing, even if you've never utilized it before, right? So when we think about, let's just start at the bottom. We'll just go Roy G. Biv, okay? So when we think about red, what do we think about? What are some of the emotions? What are some of the thoughts that come up when we think about the color red? I personally think about deliciousness. I think about like red berries and I think about red flowers, and it's very stimulating, right? It's very, very opening to the chakras. I also think about red as in people getting upset and seeing red and having a temper, right? I also think about red as in passion, heightened senses, right? So then orange. I really associate orange with creativity. And I also think about citrus when I think about orange. I think about something that's clarifying, something that's very stimulating. Thinking about like orange essential oils or lang lang or lemons. It's cleansing, right? It's stimulating. It transmutes negative energy and it kind of sort of cleans it, right? So yellow. So that's more like stimulating as in like creativity, but also like fun and joy, right? When I think about yellow, I think about the sun. So I think about energy, life force energy, that sort of thing. Green, okay. So when I think about green, I think about plants, I think about trees, I think about salad, I think about healthy things, I think about natural things in nature. And it's very, very healing, like going outdoors into nature and being surrounded by green, right? Roy G. Biv, blue, right? So blue, I'm in a very blue phase in my life right now. I'm really, really feeling the blue right now. Blue, most of you who have worked with angels or archangels or have worked with Reiki before have typically worked with the blue flame as well. That's also very, very popular, right? So most people are going to work with the blue flame when it comes to working with Archangel Michael and working with indigo as well. He kind of goes into indigo as well. But there is a whole other way that you can utilize energy healing and color healing with Archangel Michael. And it's said that his sword, whenever you need to like cut yourself away from negative things or negative people or negative situations, you can use Archangel Michael's blue flaming sword to do that. And you want to like imagine that actually happening. And so then we kind of get to indigo and we get to violet, right? So we get into the other side of the spectrum. So violet, to me, as you can see, I love violet. I have purple everywhere. Purple is absolutely my favorite color. And I think among a lot of spiritual people, purple is also really, really popular. It's really difficult to find any type of spiritual branding that doesn't involve purple. In fact, we actually made a joke about it. What was it, like maybe a week ago, where we were talking about, I think it was Janet Callahan. She's a great friend. And she's also into color healing and things like that too. She's into Reiki as well. And she made a joke in the Profitable Psychic group, something about like, all of my branding's coming back to purple, and all of the courses I buy and things, it's all purple, right? And I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that since violet is really associated more with the higher chakras, right? That and spirituality and stuff like that, and imagination. Imagination is my keyword for purple and violet. That's my word, is imagination. And so I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that a lot of us are attracted to the color purple because of the very protecting spiritual energy that and the vibration that it carries, right? Hi, Jennifer. She says, we keep the violet flame burning in our house always. That's wonderful. Hi, Lynn. Good to see you. Elizabeth says, my one business has a purple iris. My other has a green tree. Green is also really, really popular with us, isn't it? Lynn says, I've loved purple since I was a teenager. Me too. I've always loved purple. And so really my intention today is to introduce you to a way that we can generate energy and utilize our chi and life force energy. I haven't gotten to that part yet. But the other part of that is introducing you to the color purple and introducing you to the energy of violet, right? And specifically the energy of the violet flame. So not only, not only can we utilize colors, but we can attach elements to that as well. Because what is fire? It's an element, right? The four main elements, at least in Western occultism, you have 5 or more in Eastern occultism. So it depends on what kind of, philosophy you kind of come from and utilize. But fire is a very, very cleansing. So when we think about working with fire, many of us work with fire. Many of us are called to be fire tenders. Fire has been one of the main ways that we as humans have expressed ritual, right? We do that through coming around the fire, building up a campfire, coming around the fire, telling stories. We do that when we burn things away that we no longer need or want. We can also utilize that visually. So the other half of this, excuse me, I have a little bit of laryngitis today. The other half of this is visualization, right? So we can work with the violet flame in many different ways. there's no limit to the way that you can work with the violet flame and work with the color purple. I've gone so far as to simply embed or imbue amethyst, any type of fluorite, any type of purple crystal can become sympathetic to the violet flame. And what I mean by that is in sympathetic magic, like is as like, this is as this, right? So I can sit here and say with my intention, this purple, jagged purple amethyst is sympathetic, is as the violet flame, right? And so by simply having these things around me in my environment and holding on to these things, I can access the purple flame that way. You can very obviously use also just a purple candle. I don't have a purple candle. I wasn't able to get to the store to get one. I wanted to. It didn't work out that way because of other things that happened this morning that got me sidetracked. So I wasn't able to go get a purple candle. But one of the easiest ways to have the violet flame going on and around you while you're doing spiritual work, any type of psychic work, is to simply light a purple candle, right? I mean, how literal can that be? Jocelyn says, my brother sees auras and didn't want to tell me mine because he thought I would assume it was about Prince, right? And he said it's purple. He didn't know what it meant, so I looked it up, and it said purple aura means highly psychic, yes. And so it's definitely associated with us psychics a lot, isn't it? And the other way that you can utilize it, the purple flame, is through intention and through visualization. So how many of you here are clairvoyants, that you have the gift of being able to visualize things in your mind's eye, that you don't have to physically see something, that you can, sometimes people see clairvoyantly in different ways. Sometimes if you see clairvoyantly, you may see things as an overlay onto reality, sort of like an augmented reality, if you will. You can literally see things overlaid onto your physical reality that you know are not there physically, but they are there spiritually or mentally, right? Or you can access clairvoyance through literally closing your eyes and kind of being able to go places and visualize within your mindscape, within your mind, being able to travel and journey to other places, right? How many of you have that ability? Lisa does, Lynn does, Elizabeth does, yeah. And hi, Susie. Hi, sweetheart. Hi, Wendy. Yeah. So Wendy is too. So you guys all have the ability, and actually most of us do. I want to say that there was a study that came out maybe a little while ago that was talking about how some people literally do not have that ability. But it's very, very rare. It's like minuscule, like 0.00 whatever percent of people can't actually visualize anything. There was another study that came out that says, some point whatever percent of people can't actually have their own internal narrative and internal dialogue. That would be clairaudience, right? So most of us clairvoyance tends to be one of the easiest psychic abilities to kind of work on and develop. It seems to become really, really natural for most people. And I think that has a lot to do with play as a child. I think if you were able to play and you were able to visualize things as a child and have that sort of child's heart, that child's play, that it becomes a lot easier. I think that people that didn't have the ability to play as children, or had something traumatic happen where they had to grow up too fast and didn't have that ability to play or didn't feel safe enough to play, those are the people that really struggle with clairvoyance, right? They have other heightened abilities like clairempathy, especially when dealing with traumatized children, that they develop heightened senses of clairempathy and being able to read people's energy through their emotions, right? So it's a different way of accessing our psychic abilities. Amanda, you do too. So I would say most people who had a fairly average, doesn't mean negative things didn't happen to you, but had a fairly average childhood can actually visualize. And that is a muscle that you can work on. And it's probably one of the easier ones because it's, I think it's easier because I think it's more socially accepted, if that makes sense, if we're keeping it real. So working with the violet flame, you can also do this in your mind's eye. Okay, so we're 40 minutes in here, and I have not even started on Saint Germain. So what we're going to go ahead and do, because what I really want to show you guys is this energy technique and how to utilize this and how to visualize it. And then with whatever time is left, then we'll go into a little bit about Saint Germain. What I might end up doing is turning this into a two-part thing, because I really, really want to talk about Saint Germain, but it's my intuition. My guides are telling me that it's more important to give you guys this healing technique rather than talk about Saint Germain's, okay? So I hope you guys understand that and get that. Lynn says, as an only child, I probably was more living inside myself than outside. And I was also grown up as an only child as well. I have a half sister, but she was miles and miles away. Didn't have any contact with her. So I think, yes, children who grow up, only children, or who had to grow up in circumstances that made them very highly independent, definitely have that psychic clairvoyance kind of muscle, because they have an internal world. If you have a very, very vast internal world, your chances are you're very highly psychic. Brittany says, I used to daydream all the time as a kid, but I've only gotten back into visualization in recent years, definitely working through some blocks about creative play. I wonder what kind of inner child work are you doing, Brittany? Because that is very, very highly linked. Amanda says, yes, please, you're amazing. I appreciate all you do. Thank you. Brittany, you're an only child too. It's a very interesting life being an only child, isn't it? It's a very, very interesting life. Marissa says, I found that doing spiritual work cut down on my daydreaming spaciness. Because that can give us kind of like an outlet to ground ourselves in it. I have noticed that too, that it's more, I would say that I'm just as, I'm still a daydreamer. I can still get lost in my own thoughts. I always joke around like, I don't need anything. I just stick me in a white room and I can entertain myself. I don't need I'm perfectly fine being by myself, and I don't need anything. I can just entertain myself. Elizabeth says, I was on my own a lot, but had a lot of friends. My family called them imaginary, but they weren't. I did that with animals. I had lots of imaginary animal friends. I never had any human imaginary friends, but I had lots and lots and lots and lots. I had a whole farm of imaginary animals that I had. Okay. So we've talked about the visualization aspect of it. We've talked about the color healing aspect of it, because we're actually going to visualize violet fire, violet flame. Okay. There isn't a third part of this. The third part of this is, yes, sure, you can just do the color healing aspect of it. You can just do the visualization part of it. But I want to teach you a way to make it more physical. I want you to feel it, because I think if you can feel it, it will make it more tangible to you. So looping back to my story about how I was working with this yoga master, this yoga teacher. She taught us how to create chi. And if you don't already have some type of practice that helps you generate and also ground and build up your chi, I highly, highly, highly recommend that as a spiritual practice. This could be yoga. This could be Tai Chi. This could be Qigong. This could be weightlifting. This could be running on the treadmill. Some way that you are generating energy and you're building energy and getting stronger in your body. Because when your body is strong, think about our bodies. We're basically walking crystals, walking batteries, right? We're made out of predominantly water and silicon, right? And so we're basically walking batteries. And so when we generate this energy, we can use it and manipulate it in different ways. If you're a Reiki master, I can already feel it. My fingers are already starting to go. And I start sweating. So that's how I know I'm generating energy. I just start sweating profusely and my fingers get all tingly. Okay, so if you don't have a practice doing something like that, I highly, highly recommend that you start. I think you can accomplish a lot through the visualization aspect of it, but I think if you're going to know, my Reiki people, the first time you ever actually felt energy and was able to manipulate energy, it's a different world. It's a different way to access the violet flame. Does that make sense? And to access to utilize this energy in whatever way. I mean, it's not just the violet flame. Elizabeth says animals, pixies, fairies. Yep, I had lots of fairies and pixies too. Brittany says, tarot helps me because it justifies looking at pretty pictures and telling stories. I always had to be working on something serious as a kid. So that's your creative playtime. That's your meditative playtime. I love that so much. Preparing to be an adult. So me being a witch allows me to create and play in a seriously fun way. I so agree with you. I so agree. So my Reiki people that have felt energy, describe in a couple words, what does that actually feel like? I mean, because I'm sure there's a lot of you that are sitting there like, yeah, sure, whatever, Christina. Those Qigong masters and using Qi, like, it's not really real. Like, is that a real thing? It's a real thing, and you really can feel it, and I'm going to teach you how to feel it in a very, very simple way. And my hope is that you continue to take this process, and I hope that you start some type of Qi practice for yourself. I hope you utilize this, and I hope you start building on this, because as you become stronger, it becomes easier and easier to utilize, to generate, and to manipulate this energy. So for me, when I feel the actual energy, when I'm getting it off of people, or I'm generating it, or I'm manipulating it, for me, it feels like a tingling, buzzing kind of feeling. Some people feel heat. Some people feel coolness. I don't feel heat, even though I sweat. I don't really feel hot. It just kind of happens. For me, it's more of like a buzzing, tingling. You know, when your leg or your arm falls asleep and you go to move it and you have that pins and needles kind of feeling, it's kind of like that, but without the actual pain part. It's just like that. It kind of feels like electricity. You can also feel the magnetization of that, because within your body you have the two poles, right? You have the projective energy and you have the receptive energy. So if you get really, really good at it, and hopefully where I'm going to be able to teach you that today, is you will be actually able to feel the different polarizations of energy as well. You'll be able to pick up on subtleties of when it's coming this way and when it's going this way. All right. And if you want an easy guide to do that, your left hand is always receptive and your right hand is always projective. Okay. Your left side of your body is your feminine receptive, receiving. Your right side of your body is your projective, outward energy. There is some debate whether upon if you are right-handed or left-handed, that those poles could be reversed in you. So I'll leave it to you guys to kind of figure out, however you really believe and feel about that. Brittany says, I so feel that when I'm out, sometimes someone is nearby and I just heat up and you combust and sweat. That happens to me too. And people say that that's anxiety, but as soon as whoever passes, that goes away. I know I didn't feel that way before. Something interesting about anxiety, that I actually deal with anxiety really badly too, like crippling anxiety sometimes. And I have that anxiety where it feels like you're on a train, a really fast runaway train that you didn't sign up for. And so one way that I work with that is through pranayama, through breath, but also through this technique I'm going to share with you guys today. So it kind of can help you kind of ground out some of this energy. Oh, Lisa says sometimes it feels like a cloud or a web. Yeah, I've had that too, especially if you're dealing with like cords that are attached to yourself or to other people, you can kind of strum the cords and you can feel it. It's crazy. It's really, really interesting. Okay. So let me get my legs unraveled here. You might want to do that too. If you are in a position where you cannot participate right now, just come back to this, okay? So if you're driving or you've got kids running around creating a mess and you can't sit down and you can't do this, don't worry about it. Just kind of listen and learn and then try this later on. You can replay this back, okay? You guys will have a replay of this. You're probably not going to be able to answer me because I don't want you to stop what we're doing, because then you'll have to start over, all right? So I'm going to probably ask questions. They're more rhetorical. I want you to kind of think about them, to yourself. I don't want you to really think about them. Like, I don't want you to sit here and type back to me until we're done. All right. So if you are ready, and if you don't have use of your hands, then you can simply utilize a different body part. So you could utilize your wrists, you could utilize your elbows, you could utilize your feet. All right. So if you don't, like I said, if you don't have full capacity of your hands, you can do this in some other way. All right. Elizabeth says, when I feel that kind of anxiety, I always do a check-in to see if it's me or if it's someone else. That's a really great, yes, that's really great. Because a lot of the time, most of the time, it's not you. It's somebody else. All right. So what we're going to do is you want to go ahead and uncross. You want to make sure you have a good lines going in your body, good parallels going in your body. If you can, put your feet on the floor, uncross your legs, that sort of thing. And we're not going to spend too much time, settling our energy. Everybody's pretty much probably relaxed by now. You've been listening to me for a while. All right. So we're going to take our hands, and what we're going to do is we're going to rub them together. Now, we're not going to press really hard. We're not going to try to start a fire or anything. We're just going to kind of start rubbing them together here. All right. Palm on palm. And what we're doing right now is we're generating energy. There's many different ways you can generate energy, but this is what I want you to do right now. Right? Remember, we're not, trying to start a fire. It's not a race of whoever can do this fast. But you want to have a good rhythm to it, and you want to make sure that you're rubbing your hands together. All right? Do this for a couple seconds, maybe a minute or so. And when you're ready, what I want you to do is I want you to put your hands together like this. And I want you to kind of bend your knuckles out. And I want you to kind of slowly take your hands apart, just a couple inches. You may start to feel a pulsating feeling. You may start to feel a tingling. And then I want you to stop. Now I want you to apply just a very, very slight pressure inwards with your hands. You're not going to be able to really. Pull your hands apart a little bit more. Push in a little bit more. And what you're going to notice is that you're going to start finding the boundaries of energy. You're going to start feeling, it's almost kind of like a magnetic feeling in a way. And as you're doing this and as you're pulling your hands apart, I want you to start visualizing in your mind's eye a ball. So what we're doing right now is we're creating a chi ball. You might want to pull your hands up and around the sides, and you can experiment with the size and the shape and the form of your energy ball. Okay? And if you start to lose it, if you start to not feel it anymore, just bring your hands close a little bit and then pull them out, and you'll start to feel it again. Right? So I'm sure if you're not feeling it, it's okay. It's all right. You can start over, or you can try this another time. Some people don't feel it right away. Some people do. Now, what's really fun and interesting is when you start to do this with yoga, and you start to try to balance your chi balls with yoga when you're doing stretches and things. That's really interesting. All right. So now that we've got our chi ball, what I want you to do is I want you to kind of scoot your chair back a little bit. And starting from our feet, we're going to actually start from our feet, because the intention of the violet flame is to transmute negative energies and to protect us. So starting at our feet, what you want to do is you want to actually take your ball and just kind of, you don't have to completely put it at your feet, but just kind of intention that it's at your feet. And if you want to close your eyes, you can certainly do this. You can keep your eyes open if you want to too, doesn't matter. And what you want to do is you want to kind of imagine in your mind's eye, your chi ball now becomes a ball of violet fire. And so we're going to slightly run this ball across our body. We're going to start at our feet and kind of run it up and go to our sacral chakras, our root chakra, sacral, solar, heart, throat, on and on. And as you're doing this, you may find that your ball has some resistance in some area. And so what that typically means, if you're feeling that physically, it means that there's probably some type of attachment there. There could be something negative there. There could be some healing, just general healing that needs to be sent to that place. You may also see in your mind's eye an aura. If you're a little bit more advanced, you may be able to also perceive multiple things at once. You may also be able to perceive the violet flame in front of you in your chi ball, but you may also begin to perceive your own aura and your own spiritual body, your energetic astral body as well. And if you are very clairvoyant, if you can visualize this, you may begin to actually see dark spots. You may begin to see swirling gray kind of spots. You may begin to see spots that are kind of out of focus and may come up a different color. I worked with one lady she saw like almost kind of like a vomit sort of yellow color, right? Bile kind of color. That was her little signature thing, that she knew that something was going on there, that she needed to put energy in that place. And as we're going through this, I want you to just really intend that this violet flame, this fire, is literally building and building into an inferno. And as it passes through the different parts of your body, whether you're actually physically moving your hands or you're just sitting here containing your ball, but you're just, visualizing it going through your body, is that it's incinerating all of these negative things in your aura. So you had a client today. She's going through a really, really bad breakup. You did a tarot reading for her. It doesn't look like this relationship is going to work out. You know in your heart that your client needs to move on, but your client is very, very stuck. She loves this guy, and she doesn't want to break up with him, and she just feels so energetically attached to him. And what this might have done is it might have bring up all of the times and situations in your life where you have formed codependent relationships, right? And so what we want to do is we want to incinerate those. We want to offer that, sacrifice that to the violet flame, transmute that into the higher energies. And as you go up and further in your body, you should find less and less resistance, right? And then till we get to the top of the head. Now I want you to this is the classic Reiki move. I want you to take your ball, and if you start to lose it, just kind of pull your fingers out and pull your fingers back in. Find the boundaries of your ball, and then I want you to bring your hands to the top of your eyes. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't do this perfectly right now. But if you can, go ahead and just bring that violet flame up to your third eye and just intend, say, I am cleansed, I am healed, I release all negative attachments, past, present, and future. And so it is, right? And then when you're ready, you can kind of open your eyes. You might want to take 5 minutes or so per day to kind of do this. You don't have to worry about grounding the energy unless you're already high energy. If you already have anxiety, then you may want to consider, all right, bringing the energy down and then pushing it through the bottom of the hands into the floor, into the ground. You may decide to pick up a crystal, and you could infuse the rest of your energy into your crystal. For example, this is an amethyst. This is a calming crystal. You could use obsidian. You could use onyx. You could use smoky quartz, anything like that. You could follow up with eating a really nice healthy meal, something with some greens and some good fats in it, like some avocado and some protein, maybe some chicken or some beans, depending on, if you're vegan or not. And so it becomes a matter of working with your energy, working with your chi to direct the flow of the violet flame. Now, again, this is just one way in a multitude, a million of ways that you can utilize the violet flame. So when you're ready, go ahead and come back now to your physical body and let me know how that was for you. Did some of you feel energy? Did you not feel energy? Tell me what happened with you guys. Marissa says, great exercise. I haven't tried the violet flame with the chi ball before. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love creating chi balls, and I think it's really a great way to diffuse. It for me, anyways, it has a diffusing kind of vibration to it. Kristen says, really enjoyed the violet flame energy ball. I could feel it working. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Did some of you who were really skeptical about feeling energy, did you feel energy? Did anybody have like a breakthrough around that? Now, going forward, over the next probably hour or two, you might feel a little light. And I mean, like, you might feel a little, light in your head. If you do feel that way, like I said, you can do some grounding techniques. But just enjoy the lightness. I think that's like what we're, excuse me, supposed to feel. Marissa, I'm having the same problem you were. Good. Sorry, guys. I know, it's allergies. Good. Okay. So, I'm out of time and I didn't even talk about Saint Germain. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write up a little paragraph about Saint Germain and then maybe do another video on it in the Profitable Psychic. I really want to keep going, but my voice is just not letting me today. So utilize this, come back, let me know how it works out for you, and just let me know how you guys feel for the rest of your day. I will give you the 5-minute summary of Saint Germain. Okay. So if you want to stay for this part, feel free. So there is a Saint Germain. The Saint Germain that is canonized through the Bible is not the Saint Germain that is associated with the violet flame. Okay. That's first and foremost important that you need to know. Now, there is a man by the name of the Count of Saint Germain. He was alive around, I would say, I'd have to look at my notes, but it was like 1600s, 1700s, maybe, yeah, like 1600s, okay? So, he was a man that was really, really, really wealthy. He was a very interesting man. He was friends with all of the kings and queens. He was friends with politicians. He was friends with everybody, right? And he was sort of like this mystery man. Am I going to be able to do it? Nope. Okay. So I will come back and do another video on that. So I'll talk to you guys later. Sorry to cut it short, but my laryngitis is really acting up. So thank you for coming for the Violet Flame. I will do another video when my voice is better. And thank you so much for attending the Summer of Magic. I will see you guys in the group. Bye.